The airport buzzed with hurried footsteps, rolling suitcases, and the faint echo of boarding announcements. In the middle of it all, Daniel, a young single father, tightened his grip on his daughter's small hand. 4-year-old Lily clutched her stuffed rabbit to her chest, her eyes wide with wonder at the endless sea of people. Daniel, however, felt the weight of every glance that fell on him, some curious, some judgmental, and some openly mocking. A man juggling work, travel, and parenting alone didn't fit the picture many expected. He adjusted the strap of the oversized diaper bag slung across his shoulder, holding boarding passes in his other hand, trying to appear calm. But then came the quiet snickers behind him, 2 young men in business suits whispering loud enough for others to hear. "Look at him," one chuckled. "Bet his wife couldn't take it anymore." Laughter followed, sharp and unkind, stinging Daniel more than he wanted to admit. He swallowed hard, forcing a smile for Lily, but inside he was crumbling. He loved his daughter fiercely, but moments like this made him feel like the world was waiting for him to fail. As he shuffled forward in the long line toward the gate, the weight of judgment pressed harder, making every step feel heavier. Little did Daniel know, this journey would not only test his resilience but also lead to an unexpected moment of respect that would silence every mocking voice around him. Daniel tried to focus on Lily's chatter as she pointed at airplanes through the glass walls, her innocence shielding her from the cruelty of the world. But behind him, the whispers and laughter continued, now joined by a woman's sigh as she muttered, "Men can't handle kids, not like mothers do." The words pierced him deeper than he wanted to admit. He thought of the sleepless nights, the rushed breakfasts, the scraped knees he'd bandaged, and the lullabies he'd sung when Lily cried for her mom who had left years ago. He thought of how he had sacrificed promotions at work, turned down countless opportunities, and endured endless loneliness just to make sure Lily never felt unloved. Yet, none of that seemed to matter to strangers who saw only a man fumbling with a backpack and a restless child. His palms grew sweaty as he fumbled for their IDs, trying to keep Lily calm while digging through his bag. The line inched forward, and every mistake, every dropped toy or misplaced paper, seemed to fuel the quiet mockery behind him. Daniel's ears burned, his chest tightened, and for a brief moment, he wondered if the world would ever see the truth, that being a father wasn't about perfection, but about love and presence. Just then, a flight attendant nearby glanced at him with a warm smile. An expression so rare in that moment it felt like a lifeline. By the time Daniel and Lily reached the front of the line, his nerves were frayed. Lily tugged at his hand, asking for water, while the diaper bag threatened to slip off his shoulder. He could hear the men behind him chuckling again, and one of them muttered, "This is why kids need their mothers." Daniel clenched his jaw but stayed silent, not wanting to cause a scene. He handed over their tickets, praying for a smooth process. The gate agent scanned them, then leaned down to greet Lily with a cheerful smile. Lily beamed and proudly introduced her stuffed rabbit, making everyone within earshot chuckle, not cruelly, but with genuine affection. For a moment, the tension eased. Still, Daniel felt the weight of the earlier laughter pressing against his back, as if their judgment had carved itself into his skin. The flight attendant who had noticed him earlier approached, crouching slightly to Lily's level. "Are you traveling with your daddy today?" she asked warmly. Lily nodded, squeezing Daniel's hand tighter. The attendant looked up at him then, her expression shifting from simple courtesy to something more profound, recognition, perhaps even admiration. She stood, straightened her uniform, and in a clear, respectful tone said, "Right this way, sir." The word rang out like a bell. It wasn't just polite, it carried weight, authority, and dignity. Daniel blinked, unsure if he'd heard correctly. Around him, the laughter quieted, and the men behind him fell silent. That one word, "sir," spoken with sincerity, had flipped the narrative. For the first time that day, Daniel felt seen not as a struggling parent, but as a man worthy of respect. The sudden hush in the line was almost startling. Daniel's heart pounded as he followed the attendant, Lily skipping happily beside him, oblivious to the tension that had just dissolved. The laughter that once cut into him now hung in the air, silenced by a single word. Daniel glanced back briefly and caught sight of the men who had mocked him. Their smirks had vanished, replaced by uneasy expressions as if they'd been exposed. For the first time, Daniel didn't feel small, he felt steady, like a father who had just been handed back his dignity. As they walked toward the boarding gate, the crew member leaned in slightly and whispered, "You're doing a wonderful job. Don't ever doubt that." The words almost undid him. He blinked rapidly, forcing back tears he couldn't afford to shed in front of Lily. He had endured years of quiet struggles, doubting himself more times than he could count, wondering if he was enough. And now, here was a stranger affirming everything he had fought so hard to give his daughter: safety, love, and presence. Another attendant joined them, offering Lily a small set of wings, a little pin with the airline's logo. Lily squealed with delight, pinning it proudly to her dress. Passengers nearby smiled, and a few even clapped softly, recognizing the rare tenderness unfolding before their eyes. Daniel's chest swelled, not with pride, but with a quiet relief that perhaps the world was finally seeing him not as a man failing without a partner, but as a father rising for his child. Once inside the jet bridge, Daniel slowed his steps, wanting to soak in the moment that had shifted something deep inside him. The crew guided him and Lily toward their seats near the front, sparing them the awkward shuffle through crowded aisles. As they settled in, Lily climbed onto her seat, still clutching her rabbit, her eyes wide with excitement. "Daddy, they gave me wings. Now I can fly too," she giggled. Daniel chuckled softly, but his throat tightened with emotion. Moments later, the same attendant from the gate picked up the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen," her voice rang through the cabin, "before we depart, I'd like to recognize someone special on this flight." Daniel froze, his mind racing. The attendant smiled warmly in his direction. "Traveling alone with a little one isn't easy, but today we have with us a father who reminds us what true love and commitment look like. To every parent doing their best, especially those doing it alone, we honor you." The cabin filled with a wave of applause, gentle but powerful. Daniel's cheeks burned as he glanced down, overwhelmed. Lily clapped too, beaming at her dad as though she finally understood something unspoken. The men from the line shuffled awkwardly in their seats, heads bowed, their earlier laughter silenced completely. Daniel felt the sting of their judgment dissolve into the warmth of recognition, and for the first time in years, the doubts that had haunted him began to lift. He wasn't just surviving. He was showing Lily what it meant to stand tall, even when the world tried to make you feel small. As the plane lifted off the runway, Daniel gazed out the window, the city lights shrinking beneath the clouds. Lily leaned against his arm, her tiny fingers curled around his, already drifting into sleep. The roar of the engines faded into the background, replaced by the steady rhythm of her breathing. For once, Daniel didn't feel the heavy silence of loneliness pressing on him. Instead, he felt surrounded, by the kindness of strangers, by the respect of the crew, and by the unwavering bond he shared with his daughter. He thought back to the mocking voices that had haunted him at the gate and realized they no longer mattered. What mattered was Lily's smile, her trust, her belief that her dad was enough. And maybe, just maybe, the applause from that cabin would remind others that strength doesn't always wear the shape people expect. Sometimes it looks like a man carrying too many bags, fumbling with papers, yet holding the world together for the child beside him. As the seatbelt sign flickered off, Daniel kissed the top of Lily's head and whispered, "We're going to be just fine, baby girl." His eyes welled, but this time with gratitude, not doubt. Across the cabin, passengers exchanged knowing glances, and even those who had once laughed now sat in quiet reflection. The journey had started with judgment, but it ended with hope, a reminder that compassion has the power to silence cruelty. And as the plane soared higher into the night sky, Daniel realized he wasn't just flying toward a destination, he was carrying his daughter into a future built on love, resilience, and the quiet strength of a single dad who refused to give up.